Hey, church family, this is Pastor Andy, and I am so excited to be here on FaceTime with Caleb Bryant. And I'm glad to have him just visit with us and share a testimony, a story of what God's doing in his life. And since not everybody knows everybody in our church, I want to give Caleb first an opportunity just to introduce himself. So, Caleb, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and what you do.
Sure. Well, yeah, my name's Caleb Bryant. I am a firefighter for the Midwest City Fire Department. I've been there, it'll be 8 years in June. On my days off from the fire station, I teach fire EMS and hazmat classes for Eastern Oklahoma County Career Tech out in Choctaw. My wife, Megan, is the director of student engagement for Rose State College, and we have two beautiful girls. Lily, a sixth grader at Carl Albert Middle School in Layton, who is a kindergartner at Soldier Creek and keeps us busy all the time.
They are full of life and energy for sure. Well, I know because I remember well, but not everybody, as I said, knows everybody in our church. So tell us a little bit about when and how God brought you to be a part of our First Baptist Choctaw family.
Yeah, my wife, her dad is a youth minister for a very well known church in the Eastern Oklahoma County area, and she grew up there. And when we started dating and married, we became members of that church and went there for a long time. And the Lord just blessed us in so many ways through that church. But probably in 2017, we both just kind of began to feel a call upon our heart that we were supposedly maybe going to be moving to a different church, and we didn't really know why. We absolutely loved our church. We had no problem with
Sure.
where we were at. It's a wonderful church with a wonderful staff. We just kind of felt like for some reason the Lord was leading us in a different direction through prayer and just visiting a few different churches. We came to First Baptist Choctaw. Quickly met yourself and the rest of the staff. Met some great folks like Sean and Lana Gregor and Lee and Stephen Stone and Joe and Alyssa Robertson. Just people that welcomed us in with open arms. Fell in love with the church. Had a great piece about us becoming members at First Baptist Choctaw. Don't quote me on this. I want to say we became members in October of 2018,
Sure.
something right around that area. So been members for about a couple years now. Kind of jumped in head first. We teach a connect group with Joe and Alyssa Robertson. And Megan serves in some other ministries around the church as well as do I, and are just incredibly blessed by First Baptist Choctaw and everything God's doing through that church.
Cool. Well, you guys have been a blessing, and I've enjoyed your energy and your just heart of service. And like you said, y'all have a rich church background, both of you, growing up, and you brought those experiences into our church family. We're very thankful for that. Well, speaking of family stuff, how is the coronavirus affecting your church, your family personally? Before we get into your professional side, but just what does that mean for you? Even like today, for example, is probably different than you thought it would be. But just give us a little thumbnail sketch.
Well, I think we're like everybody else. It's quite an adjustment. We're taking it. I feel like minute by minute would be more accurate versus day by day. Day by day may be a little bit too big of a chunk to bite off right now. Obviously, with my profession of being a firefighter, I'm not going to get to work from home. But with Megan, her job has drastically changed from working from home right now with campus being closed down for the rest of the year. She's looking at what does this mean for her student engagement, enrollment? How is she going to coordinate her employees from home? For our girls, we have two girls that love their friends and their teachers at school, and we're dealing with their disappointment that they may not see them again, at least on school campus this year. What that means for them, what it means for us to keep them actively engaged and learning every day on their learning track, and not just allowing them to veg out. It's We're 2 days into it, and I'm not sure we've got it down pat yet, but we're working for it. So we feel isolated just like everybody else. We're doing our best to abide by the local, state, and national
Yeah.
guidelines of just being socially responsible, but it's difficult. We're missing our friends. We're missing our church family. We're feeling pretty cooped up right now, but at the same time, we're trying to look on the bright side that this is an opportunity the Lord has given us as a family just to grow
Yeah.
closer, for our lives to slow down of the busyness of tennis and gymnastics and things like that for our girls, where we're not coming and going and just passing off kids. We're getting to sit every night and be a family and have dinner at the table and really just deepen our relationships as a family.
That's a great perspective. I really appreciate you sharing that because there are some things that this means that we're not getting to do, but as you said, we certainly want to look for the best in everything, and so I appreciate that. And I know for you, I know right outside your back window is a swimming pool, and so probably every day it gets a little warmer. It's harder to convince your daughters that they need to do math when the
Yeah.
pool is right outside. So, well, thanks for telling us about how it's affecting your family. I think that's some common threads for a lot of people. But tell me what it means. As a firefighter, you're always responding to needs in the community. And right now, it's kind of slowly ramping up. So you're probably starting to feel the initial things. But just tell me what it means for you right now, and kind of what are your expectations, how that's going to affect you, and we'll use you to kind of give us an insight into what it's like for people who work in your world.
Sure. In the fire and first responder world, we're always kind of on edge about being very situationally aware, just for anyone or any situation that we come in contact with, or anything that we respond to. This kind of just takes it and ratchets it up a notch, about a level of 10. As far as it's altering our response guidelines with us being able to make contact with people, it's putting some guys on edge just about the possibility of contracting this virus,
Yeah.
and taking it back home to our families and to our loved ones. Also, possibly about us having to be quarantined at a fire station for at a minimum
Uh,
2 weeks, to where we would be away from our wives and our children, and putting that burden upon them of being a single parent looking after kids. And so the stress level is up there, even more than it is normally. We're dealing with a population that is just uneasy right
oh
now.
yeah.
The uncertainty tends to make people a little bit more irrational, and just a little bit more on edge with dealing with each other, and also a little bit more nervous about maybe common symptoms that they might have. And so our call volume is ratcheting up. But we're prepared for that. We have excellent leadership at our department, and also with other surrounding departments. I can speak for them also, that are very proactive about keeping us safe, and also keeping the general public safe, and ensuring that we're able to respond, and maintain that high level of service that our communities deserve. It's a trying time. It's tiring. You're kind of always thinking about, did somebody have something on a call? Did they not know it? Did I unknowingly walk into something? It's tough to mentally diffuse from situations normally that we see on calls, but right now I feel like a lot of guys, or men and women, are dealing with just the inability to kind of push pause as they're away from their
Yeah.
job, thinking of, am I unknowingly carrying something back to my loved ones, and what am I getting ready to walk back into or
So let me
possibly.
ask you, and I think all that you shared, I think a lot of people have you and our first responders, and right there, the medical professionals in our community. Everybody's job's been altered, but for most people, it's an inconvenience because they're working from home, or tragically not able to work at all, and that's putting some strain on people's finances. But you guys, it's only going to continue to ratchet up as the 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 rational fear of people being genuinely concerned, plus not so much. And
Sure.
so you're working not only with the public as you respond to calls and needs, you also are working with the other people you work with, and then you're ministering to your own family in different ways. How does your faith in Jesus Christ shape how you respond to all these things?
Well, for me, it just gives me a peace that, even through the uncertainty of this time, and as you look out and you look at the response of the world, and I don't use this term lightly, but just the panic and the uncertainty of what's going on right now that we haven't seen, really, especially within my lifetime, I can rest confidently in the fact that I know that the Lord is in control of this all. Since He laid the foundations of the world, He is not surprised by the fact that this is taking place. He knew that in March of 2020 that this was going to come to our doorstep. He is not wringing his hands over the plans, over what's going on. He knows that He has it totally in control. I'm thankful that I get to have that peace that surpasses all understanding, as He tells us in His Word, that He's ultimately looking out for my own good, for my family's own good, for the good of other believers. And that, like you talked about in your message on this past Sunday in Romans 8:28, he's working all of this together for our good, even through the change of possibly how my job might look, circumstances for other people. He's orchestrating it all, and he makes a promise for us that he's working it together all for our good and for his glory. And I'm thankful that I get to rest in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that my approach, the peace that he's laid upon my heart about that, can hopefully be used as an avenue to share the gospel with
Amen.
someone who maybe I work with, or somebody that I come into contact with through my line of work who may not have that level of peace. And that can be used just as something to spread his message. And so I'm so thankful that his word tells us that he's constantly working for our good and for his glory, and that even through all the chaos of this situation, I can still rest easy in knowing that he is still completely under control of it all.
Cool. Absolutely. Well, and now I want to ask you a question that's more personal as well. How can we be praying for you, Caleb, as we think about you? As people watch this, they're obviously going to be thinking about you, and their hearts will go out to you. So you personally, and then as we think about you as a representative of the first responder community, the people who are giving frontline care in times of emergency in our community, how can we pray not only for you first of all, but for our first responders broadly as we think about that in our community with this virus ramping up right now?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of you. I covet your prayers. I feel them, and they mean more than you know. For me, just be praying for peace and for rest. It's a stressful time at work right now, especially for the days that I'm off. Or the days that I'm gone, we work 24 hours at a time. So that's my wife taking care of our kids and our household responsibilities 24 hours at a time, and that can get a little tiring. And so just for rest and for peace for her as she's dealing with the changes in her job schedule and what that looks like, and for our girls as well. But for the first responder and really medical community as a whole, I pray that you would just, or ask that you would pray for us and just making sure that we're getting the supplies that we need. Yeah. That's a pretty stressful thing right now for people making calls in the hospital and also in the pre-hospital setting. We're running pretty short on supplies for us to protect ourselves. And then really just for rest and for peace for all of the first responders and healthcare workers. Like we kind of talked about earlier, the call volumes are just ratcheting up as we're seeing this spread a little bit, and also with uncertainty and people just being concerned about normal symptoms that happen from day in and day out life. It's bringing about more calls for us, which gives us less time to kind of rest and recharge in between calls. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, just how we're mentally not able to kind of step away from the situation. Yeah. Even when we're off right now, it's pretty easy to get worn down in that type of situation. So people to adequately rest and just kind of unwind, and that for our families as we're gone and away from them, that the Lord would just provide them with rest and peace and strength to continue on. And ultimately that this outbreak would be brought to a very quick end, so that way we can return to normal life, just get back to things as usual.
Cool. Well, hey, Caleb, thank you so much for joining me, and really everybody will watch this here within a few hours. It'll be out on social media. Thank you for encouraging us, and you can be encouraged in the knowledge that your church family is praying for you and your family, and we're thankful for the role you're playing in our community to keep us safe, and appreciate you doing that. And then I know you represent a lot of other people. As people in our church think about you, they'll think about the whole first responder medical community. Thank you for the good work you're doing. Thank you for the way God's using you in our church family. Tell the rest of your family I said hi. Tell the girls they can swim as soon as math's done.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, bud. Thanks.
Thanks. We'll see you.